Government Television. Welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting. Originating from the County Administrative Center, located at 1115 Truxton Avenue in Bakersfield, California. Grounded in ideas, energy, and innovation, Kern County's vision is to be a driving force for the world's fifth largest economy. And our mission is to exceed expectations of the communities we serve, changing the way they feel about government, those who manage it, and the services it provides. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Okay, good afternoon. Board to reconvene. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Peters.
Here.
Supervisor Scrivener.
Here.
Supervisor Flores.
Here.
Supervisor Couch.
Here.
Supervisor Perez.
Here.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Tuesday, January 24th, 2023, 2 p.m. meeting of the Board of Supervisors. We will first hear from Assistant County Counsel Ken DeGram for a report on actions taken in closed session.
Good afternoon, Chairman, board members. This morning, following the AM open session Board of Supervisors meeting, your board met in closed session on item numbers 28 and 29 on the AM agenda. There were no reportable actions taken.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll begin now by considering the consent agenda. Agendas are located on the tables near the doors. For anyone wishing to follow along, all items listed with a CA above the item number are considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion. If a member of the audience wishes to comment or ask questions regarding an item on the consent agenda, they may do so prior to a vote being taken. A member of the board may remove any item from the consent agenda and will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the board concerning the item before action is taken. At this time, I will read the consent agenda items. On page 2, items 3 through 5. On page 3, items 6. Oops, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong agenda. Bear with me. That was AM. Okay. On page 2, items 3 and 4. On page 4, items 6 and 7. Page 5, items 8 and 9. Page 6, items 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. I do have a correction to read into the record to delete all items in caps and to replace with refer back to staff. Page 7, items 15 through 17. On page 8, item 18, I need to read into the record that this item has been withdrawn by the department and will not be considered today. Item 19, also need to read into the record that this item has been withdrawn by the department and will not be considered. Remaining items are 20 and 21. On page 9, the consent items are 22 through 29. On page 10, items 30 through 35. Page 11, items 36 through 43. Page 12, items 44 through 50. Page 13, items 51 through 59. Would any member of the public want to ask a question or talk about an item on the consent agenda? Now's the time. Okay, seeing none, ask if the board members have any item for discussion or to be removed. If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
Motion on consent.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Members, cast your vote.
Motion is approved. All ayes.
Okay, first item off consent. Board will now consider items under public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons to address the board on any matter not on the agenda, but under the jurisdiction of the board. Board members may respond briefly to statements made or questions posed. They may ask a question for clarification, make a referral back to staff for factual information, or request staff to report back to the board on a later meeting. Also, the board may take action to direct staff to place a matter of business on a board agenda. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. Please state and spell your name for the record before making your presentation. Thank you. Anyone under public presentations? Come forward. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman Flores, Supervisors. My name is Rob Duco, D as in David, U-C-H-O-W. I'm Public Affairs Manager for Southern California Gas Company here in Kern County, and I'm here today to talk to you about and inform your constituents about something I've emailed all of you about previously, and that is historically high natural gas bills this winter. Bills in January, customers are going to see bills double what they were a year ago or more. These bills are a result of historically high gas prices in the western United States. As I'm sure you know, SoCalGas does not set the price of natural gas. We buy it on the regional and national markets and pass that cost on to our customers without marking up the cost of the commodity. Our customer pays the same price for the commodity that we do, and we do not profit on the sale of that commodity. We make our money in transporting it to the customer, as I think most of you are all familiar. According to the United States Energy Information Administration, there are a number of factors that are contributing to these high commodity gas prices. Widespread below normal temperatures along the west coast from the Canadian border to the Mexican border, which has resulted in higher demand for heating, reduced supplies coming to the west coast from Canada and the Rocky Mountains, reduced interstate pipeline capacity to the west coast from West Texas because of maintenance activities, and low natural gas storage levels to start the heating season on the west coast. There are several things our customers can do to reduce their bill, including reducing their temperature on their thermostat 3 to 5 degrees if their health permits, installing weather stripping and caulking around windows and doors, washing clothes in cold water, lowering the temperature on their water heater, and limiting the use of non-essential appliances such as spas, pool heaters, and fireplaces. We've also made a $1 million donation to the Gas Assistance Fund, which can help income-qualified customers with assistance to their gas bill on an as-needed basis. More information on these tips and the assistance programs are available on our website at socalgas.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions you or your constituents may have now or at a later time if you have any.
Thank you, Mr. Duco. Very, very timely. Thank you for that explanation. Any questions or comments for Mr. Duco? No. Thank you. It's an important reminder as to why Kern County needs to be energy independent and let us do our thing that we do best. Any other speakers under public comment? Okay, now seeing none, we'll close public comment and go to member comments. Supervisor Couch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to take just a minute this afternoon to introduce you all to someone and introduce her to the community as well. Her name is Annika Fernandez, and she was an intern in our office last summer. A very bright young lady. She caught on very quickly, and she could handle this job easily. Annika is fortunate. By the way, that's Mom and Dad sitting behind her. Hi, Mom and Dad. How are you doing? You guys should be proud. You did a great job with her. She has been selected, and we think she's we don't believe there's anyone else in Kern County, maybe a handful in the state, to go play basketball in Barcelona, representing the United States. And I'm going to tell you, it's with the here's who has selected you. The American Council for International Studies, which is a branch of the American Institute of Foreign Studies. And what does that mean? That entity provides opportunities for educational travels for young people and students. And they have selected Annika to represent the United States. And it's not a free trip, is it, Annika? Okay, it's going to cost about $5,000. That includes her airfare, her lodging, her uniform, incidentals. And I just wanted to introduce you all to her. I'm going to kick you off with a little donation, but tell us how people can get a hold of you or make a donation towards this worthy cause.
Okay, hi, I'm Annika Fernandez. So I have created a digital donation link that can be accessed through my Instagram being ANNIKA_FERNY. And all you have to do is click the donation, and then in the website, it takes you straight to it. It has a picture of me playing basketball, and it has this big blue contribute button. All you have to do is select that and then select your donation amount. and it should go straight to the ACES program for the America's team.
Told you she could handle it. Hey, thank you for coming down here today, and I just wanted to give you a little boost. And I'll be getting if an old guy like me wants to just write a check, you'll take that as well, right?
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
of course. Thank you.
All right. Jesus in my office has a little certificate of recognition signed by all the board members commemorating this occasion. I just wanted to have him present that to you and say thank you for coming down this afternoon.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No, thank you, Supervisor Couch. Good luck to you as you represent us in Barcelona. Okay. That brings us to our... You're welcome. That brings us to our next item under Planning and Natural Resources. This is a request of Aaron Hambrick and Philip Moores. Original applicant is Cal Portland Company by Harrison, Temblador, Hungerford, and Guernsey, to appeal the decision of the Planning Commission, approval conditional use permit number 45, map 214, the Jim Hill Quarry Project. And Lorelei is going to lead us off on the discussion before we get to the hearing.
Thank you. Lorelei Oviatt, Director of Kern County Planning and Natural Resources. Mr. Craig Murphy, Assistant Director, will be making the presentation today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Oviatt. Good afternoon, members of the Board of Supervisors. As previously mentioned, the project before your board today is an appeal of the decision of the Planning Commission to approve conditional use permit number 45, map 214, that would allow surface mining operations, including associated reclamation plan, for the Jim Hill Quarry mining project. The appellant for today's hearing is Aaron Hambrick and Philip Moores. The original applicant for the proposed mine is Cal Portland Company. The project itself is a surface mining operation on a 210-acre project site that includes a maximum disturbance area of 82 acres. The anticipated lifespan for the mine is estimated to be 30 years, and facility operations would employ approximately 20 employees at any given time. The project site is located approximately 4 miles northwest of the unincorporated community of Rosamond and is located within the administrative boundaries of the Kern County General Plan with a map code designation of 8.4, which is meant for mineral and petroleum use. The site itself has a zone classification of exclusive agriculture. As shown on this aerial map, the project site is comprised of 4 parcels, primarily consisting of undeveloped land with several dirt access roads that traverse the site. The project site is not under any Williamson Act land use contract, and the entire project site and surrounding areas are designated as non-agricultural and natural vegetation by the California Department of Conservation. As shown on this aerial map, the project site itself consists of 210 acres of land that is located on the west side of the Mojave Tropical Road, and that is shown in green on this map. That area is owned by Cal Portland. As I mentioned earlier, the entire project disturbance area would be limited to only 82 acres within the project site, and that area is represented in red. Mining itself would be limited to only 35 acres, which is the blue area. And there is a 0.7 acre primary access road that is administered by the California State Lands Commission, which is located right here as the primary access point to Mojave Tropical Road. The nearest known sensitive receptors to the site are rural residences, which are located approximately 858 feet northeast of the project site boundary on the east side of the ridge and with no line of sight to the project itself. Other nearby residences are located further to the north and northeast at distances ranging from approximately 2,000 to 4,000 feet. As indicated, approximately 35 acres would be mined, as shown in this engineered mining plan. Mining would be undertaken as a single pit with an excavation depth of approximately 300 feet. If approved, this project would authorize a surface mining operation, including the associated reclamation plan, which can be comprised of the following areas. Again, you would have a 35-acre mining area consisting of 1 open pit. That is estimated a total of 15 million tons of naturally occurring materials in the form of volcanic tuff. That mineral is used for the production of cement. Additionally, there is a total anticipated production of mine waste, or otherwise known as overburden, and that is estimated to be about 6,000 tons. That would be dispensed on 2 overburden site stockpiles, which would be located here and here. Project itself also includes 23 acres of disturbance for roads and access, a 2.5 acre for a stormwater basin, and then approximately 10-acre area for other associated disturbance, which would include equipment storage, scale, and security. The primary access road to the site from Mojave Tropical Road would be widened and improved. A secondary access road to the site from Mojave Tropical Road would be installed about 1,500 feet north. That land is currently owned by Cal Portland. Neither of these access roads would be proposed to be reclaimed, as they would be needed to and utilized for continued access to the site upon reclamation. Water itself will be obtained from the proposed on-site well and loaded into 4,000-gallon truck and delivered within the project site for dust suppression. The proposed water demand would be approximately 18 acre-feet per year, with a total of 550 acre-feet expected over the proposed 30-year lifespan of project operations. An environmental impact report was prepared for this project in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. All 4 volumes of this EIR have been provided to your board and have been posted on the department's website. Pages 8 through 18 of your staff report detail the environmental process and all the comments received, including our responses to those comments. While most of the project impacts can be reduced to less than significant levels with implementation of the required mitigation measures, staff has determined that implementation of the project would result in significant and unavoidable impacts. Those impacts specifically are for project and cumulative impacts to aesthetics, and then cumulative impacts to biological resources. The final EIR contains 41 mitigation measures to reduce the project and cumulative impacts. The mitigation measure monitoring program listing all of the proposed mitigation measures have been attached to your staff report as Exhibit C for your review. The primary concerns raised during the processing of this project were from nearby residents, and they were specifically in relation to potential impacts to aesthetics, biological impacts, water usage, traffic, and noise. Again, responses to those comments were extensively addressed in the response to comments document prepared. However, I'd like to take a minute to address some of those comments at this time. Regarding aesthetics, as specified in the EIR, the project will result in significant project and cumulative impacts to aesthetics, and your board will be required to adopt 15093 Statement of Overriding Consideration findings that the benefits of this project outweigh those identified significant impacts. As I previously mentioned, the overall 210-acre site, only 82 acres will actively be disturbed, which will help to address some of the aesthetic impacts. That significance determination is conservative, however, as the estimate, as much of the site will remain unchanged when it comes to visual landscape. The closest residents are located on the east side of Mojave Tropical Road, and the roadway, along with the existing site terrain, provide a buffer to those residents and where the active mining operations would occur. I provided your board today with a key map and then the visual simulations that were prepared as part of this project. So the two that I just want to point out are probably the first observation point and then the second observation point. If you look at this image, that top graphic shows the existing conditions. No mining has occurred at this particular site with this visual. The second image below it is what the site would look like when it's fully mined, but none of the reclamation has commenced. As you can see in looking at this image, it looks pretty much identical to what the existing characteristics are. This third image is what the site would look like once the site has been fully reclaimed as well. The second KOP, again, this is the existing conditions. Mining has not commenced. And then if you take a look at what that image looks like, other than just some modifications to the roadway to allow the appropriate tying connections, this is what the image is anticipated to look like once the mining has occurred, and then the bottom picture is what it would look like once the site has been fully reclaimed. So again, those visual simulations kind of estimate that there would not be too much visual impact to the naked eye at key locations, as most of the mining would occur and the terrain would cover those activities. The project itself will also have to adhere to the adopted dark sky ordinance prior to and during the commencement of all project operations, and staff has included the appropriate mitigation measures that require the establishment of a lighting complaint coordinator, and that they would be responsible for responding to public inquiries related to site lighting that would occur. Regarding biological impacts, the project included all the appropriate biological surveys to ensure that no special status species or plants were located on site. Further, staff has included appropriate mitigation that would require pre-construction, or in this case, pre-operation surveys that would verify that no endangered species are on site during any operations. And then again, if any special species were identified, the project proponent would be required to contact the appropriate wildlife agency prior to continuance of those operations. Regarding water, the project again will utilize approximately 18 acre feet per year, cumulative total of 540 acres over the entire 30-year project. The proposed water well for this project is located in the northern portion of the project site, and it will transport pumped water to the mining area. The water supply assessment indicates that the adjacent residential users and the mining site do not share the same aquifer. However, the analysis indicates that there is sufficient groundwater available for the residential uses and the mining operations if for some reason those aquifers were connected. Bottled water would be provided for employees, and portable toilets would be utilized on site as well for employees. Regarding concerns related to traffic, the project is expected to have limited traffic impacts. It's estimated that we would have 42 a.m. peak hour trips and 31 p.m. peak hour trips. For purposes of reference, 50 peak hour trips are what the requirement is that would trigger further traffic analysis. So the impacts associated with this project are relatively small. The two access points are proposed off of Mojave Tropical Road that would connect to the project site. Neither of these access roads would be utilized by the appellants to access their properties. The northern access is located on Cal Portland-owned land, and the southern access road, which is located on the State Lands Commission property, will serve as the primary access point to the site, and that is where all of the heavy trucks would be exiting the site when they leave the mining operations. Mitigation measure 4.2-5 has been included that requires the establishment of a fugitive dust complaint coordinator. And again, we would require the appropriate signage with contact information that would be posted at these access points. The purpose of that individual would be to help ensure that residents can contact that individual if they are noticing that trucks for some reason are leaving the property that are not appropriately covered or creating fugitive dust as they exit the site. Regarding impacts to noise, the project does propose and will require blasting as part of the mining operations. Mitigation measure 412.1 requires the establishment of a noise disturbance coordinator. Again, mitigation measure 412.2 requires that contact information be appropriately posted at the entrance and exit points of the site. Mitigation measure 4.12-3 would limit all blasting to occur one time per day, Monday through Friday, and between the hours of 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. only. There are very few instances in when blasting could occur outside of those hours. The first instance would be with written authorization from the planning director and appropriate mailed notification to any adjacent residential properties. Or the second instance in which blasting could occur is when it's deemed necessary by the federal licensed explosive operator that is in charge of blasting and it is needed due to any safety purposes. That measure further would require that an incident report be generated under which any circumstances occur and provided to the county if blasting occurs at those hours. An example of a public safety reason that would require blasting outside of those hours would be, for example, if the initial discharge did not occur for some reason, there was a malfunction with the explosives, and it was determined that it's safer to explode those devices outside those hours as opposed to have them lay overnight and have live ammunition or live explosives that has to be watched. So under those are some of the example of why we can't or don't believe it's appropriate to limit to those hours only. On November 10th, 2022, the project was considered and approved by the Kern County Planning Commission by a vote of 4-0. Staff subsequently received an appeal from our appellants, Ms. Erin Hambrook and Philip Moores, on November 22nd of 2022. A copy of the submitted appeal, along with a response to the appeal from our original applicant, Cal Portland, have been provided and included as attachments to your staff report. The action before your board today are considered de novo, meaning that today's consideration is not limited to the Planning Commission's approval of the original project or consideration of only the originally proposed conditions of approval. Page 24 of your staff report includes the required findings your board must make to approve a conditional use permit. The options before you today are either to deny the appeal, make the recommended findings approving the conditional use permit, all subject to the recommended conditions of approval. That would allow Cal Portland to beginning mining operations at the site. Or your other option would be to approve the appeal and make the recommended findings disapproving the conditional use permit, at which no mining would be authorized to occur. Staff has reviewed the project in its entirety. The project would utilize approximately 82 acres within the 210-acre site of undeveloped land in unincorporated Kern County to extract the naturally occurring volcanic tuff for use in the production of cement for approximately 30 years to help meet the demands of customers inside and outside of the Kern region. The proposed development is consistent with the adopted general plan designation of 8.4, which is for mineral and petroleum uses. The proposed project would establish a quarry capable of producing naturally occurring volcanic tuff at a rate of approximately 500 tons per year for a total production of approximately 15 million tons over the 30-year operational life of the project. Mining itself pays both on the land and the value of the mineral. This is a small mine in scope, and the mineral value is in the decarbonization use for the pozzolite. So while the property tax contribution from the operation of the mine itself will be an additional $32,000 to $35,000, Cal Portland has identified this mineral as essential to sustaining operation of their main plant in Kern County in the face of California policies, and that operation pays approximately $2.8 million a year in total property taxes. The project would mine at this location that contains sufficient land with the surrounding compatible uses and would provide a mine in an area of proximity to the proponent's cement plants and near the intended markets, thereby alleviating current and future traffic and associated impacts. Volcanic tuff is naturally occurring mineral having properties that increase the long-term strength and improves other material properties of Portland cement concrete while reducing emissions of carbon dioxide. The department recommendation for this project would be to deny the appeal, certify the environmental impact report, adopt the Section 15091 findings of fact and Section 15093 statement of overriding considerations, adopt the mitigation measure monitoring program, and then adopt resolution recommended findings and approve the conditional use permit, all subject to the recommended conditions of approval. At this time, that concludes staff's prepared comments. I recommend your board take testimony from our appellant first, followed by our original applicant, Cal Portland, and then any interested parties. Both the appellant and our original applicant have submitted PowerPoint presentations, which have been provided to your board and will be utilized as part of their presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Before we open the public hearing, any comments from the board? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing and hear from the appellant first. If you want to make your way up for the for your presentation. Welcome.
To the Board of Supervisors, thank you for hearing us today. We appreciate the efforts to incorporate the additional mitigation measures.
Can you state your name?
Apologies. Phil Moores, along with Aaron Hambrick. Thank you. Again, slide please, yeah. So where left off, we appreciate your efforts to incorporate the additional mitigation measures and to reduce the many severe and unavoidable impacts of this extraction project. We ask you to consider disapproving this destructive extraction project for insufficiently addressed impacts, or at least to consider further project research and mitigations. A slide, please. Key concerns we'll go over with this slide presentation here are displayed on the board. Bulletized, they are as follows. The actual scope of this extraction project is not disclosed. The the extraction project has severe, underrated, and unavoidable impacts on project visibility, biological resources, air quality, and noise. The extraction project's impacts are severe and unavoidable, so require a statement as to why the county accepts these impacts. The extraction project excluded analysis of traffic, CO hotspot, CHG emissions, hydrological impacts, and alternative sites. The extraction project is a long-term continuous construction project adjacent to California protected lands, sensitive wildlife, and established residents. Slide, please. Eastern Kern County is where the first aircraft in the world, first aircraft broke the world, broke the sound barrier. It's home to Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and the birthplace of civilian spaceflight. Our neighbors and ourselves are military and civilian pilots, engineers, mechanics, and craftsmen. Greenwashing is defined as misleading or deceptive publicity disseminated by an organization so as to present an environmentally responsible public image. The cement project is greenwashed. The project shown to you has the potential for the greenhouse gas emissions reduction in substantiating a portion of one ingredient in cement, but provides to you no evidence that the overall cement production will result in reduced greenhouse gas emissions. The project has compared its cement to superior Roman constructions. However, substituting a portion of one ingredient will not reproduce the superior ancient building material, and the project provides you no evidence providing their substitution will yield similar enduring results. Slide, please. This is Gem Hill prior to Cal Portland's acquisition. The abundance of spring wildflowers and seasonal streams was amazing. Descending down the south side of Gem Hill, you were greeted by so many flowers. The perfume smell was a welcome to anybody transiting the area. Listening to streams quietly flowing, birds chirping, it was like being transported to another world, barely recognizable as the sparse summer desert. The project will result in unavoidable destruction of this permanent loss of seasonal meadow. Slide, please. The actual scope is not disclosed. We watched the undisturbed desert outside our front door being plowed over. We asked the planning to identify which parcels are now owned by Cal Portland. These are indicated by the red dots on the parcel map on the left. The actual areas being plowed, graded, and crushed include parcels not owned by Cal Portland and not indicated by the planning's aerial project map on the right. These disturbed parcels are indicated by, with the blue X's on the parcel on the left. Homes are indicated by yellow shading. California protected lands are indicated by green shading. The planning's map on the right does not reflect the actual disturbed site. It does not reflect the proximity of adjacent homes on the map on the left. Slide, please. The actual scope of the project is not disclosed. Extensive site bulldozing has occurred well beyond the two landing pads that the planning says they did permit, but never notified us about. No evidence has been presented that permits were issued for grading beyond the 2 feet slope change and the destruction of many Joshua trees. Note the additional widening of roads to the north of the site, directly across and upwind from adjacent homes through the California protected areas. Slide, please. Again, the bulldozing of the huge area north of Gem Hill was conducted without any dust mitigation or water truck present. No evidence has been presented that permits were issued for the exceeding the grading ordinance, nor the destruction of many Joshua trees. This area is so wide, literally a friend of ours called us to ask if we had put in a runway for aircraft. Slide, please. The bulldozing of a huge area on Gem Hill just north of the well site was conducted without any dust mitigation or truck present. No evidence has been presented that permits were issued for the exceeding the grading ordinance nor the destruction of any Joshua trees. This was a steep mountainside with single track trails, not wide flat roads as pictured. The berms to each side of the road indicate a significant amount of material that was mechanically moved. Slide, please. The bulldozing of the huge area north of Gem Hill was conducted without any dust mitigation or water truck present. No evidence has been presented that permits were issued for the exceeding grading or ordinance, nor for the destruction of many Joshua trees. The photographs on the left show the north and south sides of the road. These photographs are not overlapping. The road is wide enough for 3 bulldozers abreast. The berms at each side of the road indicate significant amount of material that was mechanically moved. The fresh debris of Joshua trees indicate the significant number that were destroyed in this construction. The photograph on the right shows some of the equipment that was used at this location north of the projected site. The huge blades on this piece of equipment are clearly for chewing up mountains, not grading access roads. Slide, please. The project visibility impacts are severe and underrated. Gem Hill is pictured on the right top frame and the left bottom frame. These were from the movie Blazing Saddles. As discussed in the county statement for impacts that require overriding considerations, the project would substantially degrade existing visual character or quality of public views of the site and its surroundings. The project would result in cumulative aesthetics impacts to the visual character. Gem Hill is unique, one of a kind, memorable place to Hollywood and to us. Pozzolan or volcanic tuff material is not unique. You are forever losing Hollywood's fascination for a completely short-term project that will never forever scar this sought-after wild vista. Slide, please. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife does not concur that the species are absent from the project site. Multiple scientists submitted links to planning describing that appropriate biological survey protocols were not conducted. The photograph is from the Biological Resource Survey, clearly showing that construction operations have already occurred and are ongoing during the only wildlife study conducted on site. Fugitive dust with no mitigation method can clearly be seen. Our state is in a climate crisis, not a cement crisis. We have protections for special status species specifically for this reason. Slide, please. The California Fish and Wildlife does not concur that species are absent from the project site. Multiple scientists submitted links to the planning describing that appropriate biological survey protocols were not conducted. The presence of wind turbines in the background affirms that the photograph location and credibility at Gem Hill as the wind turbines are visible along the mountains from the west to north quadrant of the project site. This was questioned.
And in this packet, you can see the letter from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. And in the paragraph about comment 1, desert tortoise, you can clearly see that CDFW cannot concur with the conclusion of species absence at Gem Hill. Next slide, please. Any amount of fugitive dust may carry the spores of valley fever, and any exposure to these spores is a risk for valley fever. There is no such thing as a less than significant allowable exposure for valley fever. CalPortland activities at the site have already created significant amounts of fugitive dust. Both of these photographs that you see here were taken from my property that has no site visibility. Both times, the Eastern Kern Air Pollution Control District inspector confirmed that CalPortland activities caused this dust, and that there was no mitigation method like a water truck present on the site. Even if a water truck is used for dust mitigation during future operations, that will not protect the people in their homes when the naturally high seasonal winds blow over these disturbed areas and these access roads. Again, this access road on the top photograph here is not even pictured on the project site map that planning has presented you with. Next slide, please. The noise study presented in the environmental impact reports artificially lower the noise estimate of this project by leaving out significant noise contributions to conclude this extraction project noise is within limitations. The maximum noise level for haul truck traffic considered in this study is less than what could be produced by one truck on a potholed road. The road is a tar and chip resurfacing of asphalt on sand. It's not smooth. It already exhibits cracking, which will be worsened by operating multi-axle haul trucks every 4.5 minutes or more, as proposed by this project. Our concerns about the noise impacts of this project have been deflected by planning. The reduced number of noise-generating equipment analyzed is justified because some of the equipment could move around the site. To the contrary, some of the equipment, like the well pump, would not move around. The study already made many assumptions, so even assuming a central location for the other noise-generating equipment on the site would be appropriate for completeness. Failing to include the increased engine and braking noise of haul trucks traveling up and down hill is justified by planning because of topographic attenuation. That's a big word, but I think it means hills are in the way. There are no topographic barriers between our house and Mojave Tropico Road. The noise estimate that has been presented is 99% of the allowable threshold and did not even fully account, again, for the noise from one truck. The blasting, bulldozing, generators, and haul truck traffic in a rural area that is so silent you only hear the ringing in your ears will actually be deafening for us. Next slide, please. So when we wrote this slide, we had not received the Appendix B or Statement 1593 of overriding considerations. So I apologize, but I will address that matter with this slide. It's interesting, I only had to pay for an appeal to get your time to get the statement that CEQA requires. Of the 7 benefits that are listed in this statement for the county, 4 are completely, or at the very least, questionably accurate, and 3 do not qualitatively or quantitatively describe what the actual benefit to the county is. Number 1, the project would disturb 210 acres to produce cement for customers inside and outside Kern County. We've shown you the actual disturbed area is much larger than 210 acres. Secondly, cement is not unique. It can be produced with many recycled and natural ingredients readily available within Kern County. We'll discuss that further in a moment. Number 2, the project would establish a quarry. Why is this a benefit? The county already has multiple quarries whose cumulative impacts are already a burden to the neighboring disadvantaged communities. Residents at community meetings request dog parks and green spaces, not quarries. Number 3, the project would be environmentally sound. I've shown you the letter from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. They don't think it's sound. They don't concur that there is absence of special status species at the site. The project is not environmentally sound. It's been characterized as having significant and unavoidable adverse effects. So even having bullet point 3, I don't understand how that could possibly even exist. Number 4, the project is compatible with surrounding land use near the cement plant, near the intended market, and alleviates traffic and associated impacts. The project is not compatible with the established residents of the area. We have homes in this area, not industrial operations. We're going to be compromised by the noise, the dust, and the debris caused by this project. It's not actually located near its intended market if its customers are outside Kern County, as stated in Benefit 1. And the project is going to create significant haul truck and vehicle traffic in a rural area on a very narrow and winding 2-lane road. Number 5, the project would generate 20 jobs. This project will cause nearby homes to become inhospitable and decline in value, therefore will cause the loss of the current highly skilled, well-compensated, predominantly aerospace and defense workforce that live in this area. The few jobs generated by this project are low-skill, high-turnover, dangerous jobs. Number 6, the project would minimize environmental impacts by A, using existing roads. The existing roads will be destroyed by the increase in haul truck and vehicle traffic of this project. The project creates 2 additional access roads, 36-foot wide access roads. It's not utilizing existing roads. There has been no evidence that they have obtained encroachment permits for the primary and secondary access road intersections, and that these would not contribute to an increase in hazards, and that these would not require constructing road improvements. The study, none of this information is included in the environmental impact report. B, implementing mitigation measures to minimize the effects on aesthetics, air quality, biological resources, cultural resources, water resources, and tribal resources. Again, this project has admitted to severe and unavoidable effects on aesthetics and biological resources, even after applying all mitigation measures. The project proposer has a record of filed complaints with Eastern Kern Air Pollution Control District. This project has no provisions to monitor air quality or water use as we've requested. C, reclaiming the project site. The financial mechanism to achieve reclamation is not fully described in the project proposal, and it does not consider the disturbance to adjacent lands. The reclamation plan leaves behind all features of the quarry at the site, including all roads, the pit, and the stockpiles. The reclamation plan is not firm, as it allows for timing and changes depending on CalPortland's operational parameters and product demand needs. It accommodates future mining operations. It does not provide a start date for when reclamation will start, and it only provides a soft finish date, 35 years in the future. D, reducing greenhouse gas emissions that occur in producing cement. The actual greenhouse gas emissions that occur in the production of cement have not even been described by this project. The project takes credit for substituting a portion of a single ingredient without characterizing the emissions of the cement process. The project presents no evidence that the overall greenhouse gas emissions that occur in producing cement will be reduced. Multiple sources of scientific journalism and cement associations describe significantly higher greenhouse gas emission reductions achieved by other processes. And we'll talk about that shortly. Benefit 7 reiterates the same, just that it supports California's effort to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So I will address that. Next slide, please. So looking at the trip analysis, the table here presented is table 3-6 directly from the environmental impact report, and it minimizes the amount of vehicle traffic at the site to avoid exceeding the 50 passenger car equivalent threshold for additional traffic and carbon monoxide hotspot analysis. The project is expecting to drive a multi-axle haul truck in or out of the site every 4.5 minutes, utilizing a 2-lane, very narrow, winding road. Any other miscellaneous trips for fuel, maintenance, toilet, deliveries, employee breaks, employee meal breaks, on-site specialists, or on-site monitors are not included. I've presented a table below that shows, once you factor the multi-axle consideration into the table, that the trips do exceed the 50 PCE, passenger car equivalent, threshold for performing this analysis. it will be a significant amount of traffic. And again, this table does not allow for any changes or any other things to happen off schedule. They're just barely below this threshold. Next slide, please. As this discussion wasn't addressed in the response to comments, I hope you can see the math is pretty simple and does show the project would generate 50 or more vehicle trips, passenger car equivalent, during any peak hour. The project is constructing two 36-foot wide intersections along an existing 2-lane windy road in a hilly area. The increase in traffic and the addition of constantly running diesel generators at two proposed new traffic intersections near residences require both a traffic study and CO hotspot analysis. The county would be accepting more impacts than are listed in their statement, as the required analyses have not been completed by this project. Next slide, please. The project provides no evidence that the total greenhouse gas emissions of cement production will be reduced by substituting a portion of one ingredient. The project site is to be operated entirely with diesel equipment, even when greener alternatives, such as solar, are available. Undisturbed land of any type is obviously a carbon sink. We bring up research spotlighted by the Mojave Desert Land Trust, emphasizing that the desert is a stable carbon sink too, utilizing caliche as well as the underground root systems of plants. Planning citation of a Chinese study of Chinese Xiyang River drainage basin is irrelevant to the Center for Biodiversity and our request for a complete greenhouse gas emission analysis to characterize any greenhouse gas emission reductions of this project. A complete analysis needs to consider the total footprint of disturbed lands, mining site activities, transportation of mined materials, and the manufacturing process of cement to actually characterize any greenhouse gas emission reductions. Next slide, please. Again, the project provides no evidence that the total greenhouse gas emissions of cement production will be reduced by substituting a portion of one ingredient. In contrast, multiple sources of scientific journalism and concrete associations describe significantly higher greenhouse gas reductions achieved by other processes. Decarbonizing cement requires more than substituting a portion of one ingredient. The chart on the right directly compares the abatement costs of substituting fly ash and pozzolans in clinker to conclude their abatement costs are equal and negative, meaning the cost of pozzolan and the cost of fly ash are equal and only benefit the producer. They do not actually address the huge carbon footprint of cement. Decarbonizing cement requires addressing both fuel and process emissions, or just using less cement, as can be seen in the positive costs of these other contributors in the chart. Next slide, please. The well completion reports are all available online. The California Department of Water Resources has a downloadable form if you have trouble doing it yourself. We submitted our parcel number on this form and received our report 2 days later. There are 3 residential wells adjacent to this project, but the water requirements of only 1 well was theoretically considered in the hydrology study. What is the water table change expected from pumping out 42% of this aquifer for comparison to adjacent residential well depth? This project provides no evidence to assure the availability of water to established residents. How much water are we really allowing to be taken by this green concrete? Because according to the American Concrete Institute, substituting pozzolan actually increases the water requirement to make cement. Next slide, please. We've asked you to consider this as a construction project. The dynamite blasting and bulldozing and transporting of rocks is not a small or a clean or a quiet operation. You're asking us to live next door to this destruction for 12+ hours per day, for 6+ days per week, for 30+ years? as described by Cal Portland at the Planning Commission hearing, the Jim Hill pit mine site will not have any on-site facilities to accommodate employees beyond a portable bathroom. It will be a hostile pit. You wouldn't permit construction at all hours in a residential neighborhood, so why would you permit this construction equivalent operation in my neighborhood? Please consider that we will now have to come home and endure every day for the rest of our lives a large, dirty, loud operation that can operate whenever it likes. Next slide, please. The California Environmental Quality Act requires evaluation of project alternatives. Planning provides no evidence that alternative locations could not provide a sufficient amount of pozzolan. Planning provides no evidence that the tailings of other mining and quarrying operations in the vicinity were even considered for recovering pozzolan. Pozzolan is actually found in the tailings of the nearby Rio Tinto borax mine in Boron. It could potentially be found in the tailings of the Golden Queen mine at Soledad Mountain or many of the other quarries that we have nearby. Those are even closer to the cement factory than Jim Hill. These obviously greener alternatives that reuse material from existing operations are not even mentioned in the pages of the environmental impact report. Next slide, please. This is a full list of severe, unavoidable, and irreversible impacts that you are accepting with this project. This project, as described, has already and will continue to destroy the fragile desert environment surrounding Jim Hill, its residents, and the adjacent communities of Rosamond and Mojave. And that area is much larger than 210 acres. The extraction project is going to take away seasonal water from local and migratory wildlife and groundwater from established residential wells. It's going to take away unique scenic vistas, wildlife habitat, and dark skies. It's going to add noise, lighting, trash, pollution, disturbance, valley fever, and cancer risk just outside 2 towns. This extraction project will again destroy the roads it uses and increase the risk of accidents on those roads. And this photograph's taken from Jim Hill. That's the pit area there that you're looking at. Next slide, please. Further research and a stronger case should be made for approval of this project, given the significant issues we've described to you. Other alternatives are available to achieve Cal Portland and Kern County's goals. Pozzolan is not rare, and no evidence has been presented that it could not easily be obtained from other and closer existing and new quarry sites. No evidence has been presented that extracting and transporting pozzolan entirely with diesel machinery to substitute a portion of one ingredient and clinker reduces the overall greenhouse gas emissions of producing cement. Again, of the benefits that you've listed, 4 are completely or at least questionably accurate, and 3 do not even describe what the benefit is. As we've told you, we, the adjacent residents, are not compatible with this project. We've told you the narrow 2-lane, winding tar and chip road on top of sand is not compatible with this project. Planning neglected to do any traffic study to provide you with any information to the contrary. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife and the Center for Biodiversity have told you they do not concur that special status species are absent from this site. We've all told you this project is not environmentally sound. We've told you the project provides no evidence that extracting and transporting pozzolan entirely with diesel machinery to substitute a portion of one ingredient in cement clinker reduces the overall greenhouse gas emissions of producing cement. Next slide. These are some of the specific requests that we've made to planning over this process that's been over a year. But take a moment to appreciate the beauty that we're showing you here of Joshua trees, wildflowers, and birds surrounding Jim Hill. I ask you to consider the efforts we have undertaken to thoroughly review the 2,761 pages of the 4 volumes of the Notice of Proposal Environmental Impact Report and response to comments. We have made very specific requests in response to specific deficiencies in the analyses that are presented by this extraction project. We, the active duty, military, veterans, and aerospace professionals and craftsmen who are passionate about serving our country and preserving the wild desert of eastern Kern County we call home, ask you to please consider the personal cost of this project on us. If the benefits of this project to you outweigh the cost of the project to us, please at least consider reducing the operations of this project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Hambrick. So at this time in the public hearing, we'll hear from the applicant, either Cal Portland or the representative, if you want to make your way forward and begin your presentation.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Desiree Haggard, and I'm the Director of Environmental Affairs with Cal Portland Company. Attending with me today from Cal Portland are some of my executives, members of our marketing, environmental operations, administration, quality control, as well as our technical and legal consultants. I'd like to start by thanking Kern County planning staff, Randall Cates, for his support to see this project application through to completion. At the Planning Commission hearing, and based on staff's consideration of the same comments raised in the appeal, staff proposed additional good neighbor mitigation measures and conditions for the project, which the Planning Commission adopted. We agree with staff's recommendations on mitigation measures for this project and the Planning Commission's conditions of approval. Cal Portland is the oldest continually producing Portland cement company west of the Rocky Mountains. It was founded in 1891 with the opening of the Colton, California cement plant. Cal Portland cement has been used in some of the largest and most significant construction projects, including the Hoover Dam, Los Angeles Aqueduct, Los Angeles City Hall, Staples Center, and more. Locally, 30,000 tons of Cal Portland cement was used in the concrete paving project for State Route 14. It has also been used locally in windmill foundations and even the runway at Edwards Air Force Base. From its early years, Cal Portland has been a leader in the industry through our commitment to environmental awareness, quality product, and customer service. I'm sorry, Craig, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Can you go back? Sorry. Back one? Right there, thank you so much. Cal Portland has been, sorry. Okay, Cal Portland has been an active member in the local community for 67 years. Cal Portland's Mojave Cement Plant has been in operation since 1955 and is a major employer in the local area with approximately 150 full-time employees. Of those, 40 are salaried and 110 are union hourly. In addition, we also have over 80,000 hours of contract labor help, which equates to over 40 full-time employees. Cal Portland actively invests in the next generation by offering paid internships to college students, which helps the company recruit top talent while giving students access to high-paying jobs when they graduate. The Gem Hill project will bring an additional 20 jobs to the local area. Next slide, please. The Gem Hill site is a key component to Cal Portland's carbon reduction initiative, which consists of a small 35-acre quarry to extract natural volcanic tuff, which is a pozzolan material. Pozzolan from this project will be used as a clinker replacement in cement production at Cal Portland's Mojave plant and other cement facilities. Distribution of pozzolan from Gem Hill will aid the local market in reducing additional handling, transportation, and other related emissions. The initiative is an important element in the company's ongoing energy and GHG reduction efforts. This site contains high-quality pozzolan that does not require heat treatment, eliminating GHG and other air toxic emissions. Next slide, please. This reclamation plan has been a complicated engineering project in the works for over 4 years. It has been authored and refined by over 10 technical consulting firms, as well as a number of internal technical professionals. All of these professionals ensure the careful design of the mining area to avoid potential environmental impacts to the maximum extent possible. Numerous iterations of the mining area and designs have been evaluated, with the version in front of you being the least impactful way to recover this critical resource. The site will operate in compliance with the conditions of approval and mitigation measures presented in the staff report. Next slide, please. The natural pozzolan at Gem Hill requires no additional heat treatment to be used in cement and concrete. By replacing cement clinker with pozzolan, Cal Portland will be greatly reducing its carbon dioxide emission factor for cement. The CO2 footprint of the produced cement will be reduced by approximately 1 ton of CO2 per ton of pozzolan replacement, which results in as much as 300,000 tons of CO2 per year in the local area when used at the Mojave Cement Plant. In addition, the utilization of pozzolan in the manufacturing of cement improves the durability of structural concrete. Next slide, please. Cal Portland has conducted internal studies on carbonation, or the uptake of CO2 on concrete. In addition, universities such as MIT and UC Irvine have studied the sustainability of concrete. All of these studies continue to show that CO2 is absorbed back into concrete. Carbonation occurs over the life of concrete, which can be over 100 years. The Gem Hill project will help reduce CO2 from the start of the concrete life cycle. Next slide, please. Environmental leadership is a core value of Cal Portland, which is shown by being an EPA Energy Star Partner of the Year for the past 18 years. This is the longest standing award for Energy Star of any industrial company, longer than Fortune 500 companies like Toyota and 3M. The use of pozzolan from Gem Hill is a key initiative we are taking to remain an environmental leader in greenhouse gas reduction by supplying the local market with domestic low-carbon cement products. Cal Portland has also demonstrated our commitment to environmental excellence by being the first company on the West Coast to roll out a CNG fleet of ready-mix trucks and cement bulk hauler trucks. We have over 140 trucks running on CNG to deliver our products, which offsets diesel emissions throughout the county and Southern California. The company is progressively looking at the viability of alternative biofuels and additives such as pozzolan being used in the cement process, which will result in carbon reduction while maintaining product quality. Next slide, please. Cal Portland is committed to active community engagement by encouraging employees to volunteer for local outreach events and opening our doors to students and teachers each year for tours. In past years, we have toured over 200 students through the Mojave facility and provided in-classroom lessons on environmental and mining to over 2,000 students each school year. The company is a member of Wildlife Habitat Council, which supports and recognizes businesses to achieve wins for nature. Many employees and associates of Cal Portland are members and supporters of Women in Mining, or WIM, which focuses on educating the public on the use of minerals in everyday life. If you haven't heard it before, the WIM slogan is, "If it can't be grown, it must be mined." Cal Portland is also a sponsor and active supporter of MEEC, the Mojave Environmental Education Consortium, which is a group of regulators, industry, and educators who come together to promote environmental education. Next slide, please. Over the past year, Cal Portland employees have been active volunteers in the Roseman community by participating in cleanup days, the Parade of Lights, and worked with the VFW and Kern County to organize the inaugural Easter Spring Fling event. The company sponsors many local organizations such as Oak Creek Wild Horses, annual scholarships for Mojave High School, Mojave Little League, and Hoochin Blood Bank, to name a few. Cal Portland has also sponsored the communities of Roseman, Mojave, and California City by providing Thanksgiving dinners. With the addition of the Gem Hill site, we look forward to further engagement with the community of Rosemond. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks again to staff for their review of our project. Between me and Cal Portland's other representatives here today, we are happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Haggard. At this time, we'll still have any additional public comment from members of the public on this item. Please come forward.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. My name is Richard Farrell, and I live approximately 2 miles from this proposed mining site. I wish to register my utter regret and disbelief that there is any consideration of approval for the Gem Hill Quarry project along Mojave Tropico Road in eastern Kern County, being designated as for its continuing use permit, or conditional use permit rather, number 45 on map 214. I have lived adjacent to this area since 2012 and have watched and commented on several rural development projects in this time. I have seen 3 major wind farm projects between Soledad Mountain and Highway 58, 1 to 8 miles upwind of me. I have seen 1 solar farm installed on the north slope of Soledad Mountain using access from Mojave Tropico Road and Silver Queen Road. I have seen the development of the Golden Queen mine at a distance of 3 miles from my backyard, using the same roads and the same water table, changing my neighborhood and quality of life. Patchwork cold asphalt repairs on Mojave Tropico and Silver Queen roads are not maintaining traffic safety and smooth transportation in the area following the construction uses. The Gem Hill proposal EIR states air quality is stated as less than significant impact. I beg to differ. Under the heading of dust mitigation, all this is predicated on watering surfaces and load trucks, occasionally prohibiting operations when winds exceed 25 miles per hour. Who enforces this cessation is my question. What if water is not available? We are in a drought. Golden Queen overburdened piles create dust plumes on every windy day from the south side of the hill. Tarping loads and low freeboard requirements are monitored by whom? Disturbed areas will be revegetated. Naturally occurring desert plants, creosote, rabbit bush, sage, Mormon tea, take over 15 years to achieve 2 feet of height. After 2055, that means meaningful regrowth might take place by 2070, another generation after these meetings. Who will enforce this, and what penalties for failure for overgrowth? If you see the gravel quarries at Little Rock, California, and Soledad Canyon roads alongside Highway 138 and Highway 14 are clearly visible. Valley fever, training for employees, but no mitigation for citizens. The entire unincorporated area of Roseman, with 14,000 citizens and proposed housing for more citizens, gets no remediation. A $3,200 mitigation fee paid to the county to educate citizens about the health risk is less than 1 worker's weekly wage in the lifetime of the project. On another note, when I was active duty, in talking to our flight surgeon, he said that valley fever tends to be fatal for people of color, and as opposed to Caucasians. They'll get sick, the Caucasians, but the people of color will die. And the only thing to mitigate that is very, very intensive drug therapy, the same drug therapy they use for cancer. The pollutant monitoring sensors are set to be located upwind locations to the side. There is no monitoring map on the southeasterly side of the project, which is the lee side, due to prevailing winds exiting the Tehachapi Pass and flowing onto the desert as low-pressure diurnal drainage. This will yield false positives for particulate PM10 and particulate 2.5 contamination. As for water, the impact of 4.9.2, less than significant, that's, who are they kidding? The groundwater management plan that's described in impact 4.9.9, to reduce the water burden, pave the interior movement roads, repave when rerouting, or use chemical sealants for a longer-term stability of soil, no watering. Test wells show water levels at 250 to 660 feet below surface per SEPSI 2020. As far as traffic goes, 4.1.1 circulation via transit roadway facilities are mitigated to less than significant. Who pays to rebuild the Mojave Tropico and Bacchus or Tehachapi Willow Spring roads every 10 years? 4.1.14.5, cumulative traffic and transportation impacts mitigated? Is it in the county's budget for public works to repave this road, and how often, and beginning when? By the EIR estimates, it is one heavy truck every 5 minutes, or less in peak traffic hours. In 4.16.2, water is available to serve this project in normal dry and multiple dry years. I question this. Available from where? We are already in an overdraft condition. The Fremont Valley Aquifer is expected to drain into and recharge the Bullside Aquifer under the site according to the 2020 SIPSA study. This means my household's water supply drains into the project site. 18 acre-feet per year is enough to serve around 20 households in Sweetser Road, Lands of Promise, or Roseman's community. Domestic wells are already failing and falling in water levels and failing or going dry between the project and Bacchus Road. Drawing down more supply places those families and properties in greater jeopardy. The active size of this project is skirting the legal definitions of project by remaining under 40 acres in area. And Cal Portland is also skirting the legal inclusion of the Antelope Valley East Kern Water Adjudication District. There's only about 1.5 acres of their ownership on this location that falls into the water adjudication jurisdiction. How convenient. Kern water policies 34 and 39 require this body to ensure that standards and supplies are met by existing users and plan growth and maintenance of the natural environment. If this project runs forward and my well runs dry, I will be back before the body to achieve my personal remediation of water. A property that is 2 miles closer than I am to this site has seen their water level fall from 200 to 400 feet below the surface in the last 15 years. This section mentions portable toilets for workers, yet the current Environmental Health Department states that portables are not suitable for the 30-year term of this project. Under mitigation 4.6.8, you state portables will be used for 30 years. Dark sky ordinance. A pre-construction lighting plan is a must. Many of us moved to Bacchus Road and Ancient Valley for specifically a country lifestyle and dark skies. Mitigation by removal at the end of the project ruins the community for the entire project term. Lighting should be turned off nightly at the end of each work shifts. Security can be by personnel monitoring, electronic monitoring, or fencing. In conclusion, I cannot support the project as written. It violates Kern County's responsibility in monitoring health via particulate airborne contamination, traffic, public safety, and transportation needs, quality of life, and assuring dark skies, and in the foremost matter, assuring water supply for existing citizens, taxpayers, and voters. And as a prior member of the New Jersey Municipal Managers Association, and having been tasked with the ferreting out all the insurance policies that we had in our vault regarding Comeville North and Comeville South landfills, we found ourselves in a situation of the federal government suing local government. By that I mean, when they wanted to remediate these land sites, these landfills, they came in and said, okay, well, what's the percentage of each participant? And the total dollar amount based on that percentage is what each individual will bear as their cost to remediate the site. Now, that particular scenario could come to light with something like this in the form of various torts claims. Whether that's going to come to pass is unknown to me. I don't have a crystal ball. I leave it to this body to decide what should be done for the next step. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Lisa Checkley. I am Roseman Municipal Advisory Council Director. So I'm not going to go through everything that everyone else has gone through with you because you already know all the facts and all the statistics of everything. I will let you know that when this project did come to light, I was asked to be chair of an ad hoc committee. We brought in 3 other directors and 4 community members. 2 of those community members did live within the site area. After 8 weeks of meetings, going to the site, talking with Cal Portland, having lots of interaction and meetings and going through everything, our ad hoc committee did agree that we would like to approve the project. I took that report, took it to my board. My board then, we had a vote as well, and we all decided unanimously to approve this project. Our vote has not changed with the appeal. But I will let you just know moving forward that Rosamond's specific plan, I have been in that a lot lately, and it does actually talk about quarries and solar and wind and energy. So that is actually what Rosamond, and that's from 1988. So I know that Rosamond was set in for this kind of stuff out in that area way back in the 80s. Cal Portland has been good neighbors to Rosamond. I've lived in Rosamond my whole life. Cal Portland has been great neighbors to us since I've been there for over 45 years. A lot of my friends that I grew up with and went to school with actually have careers working for Cal Portland and Mojave and live in Rosamond and own their homes. So they are career-based people and good neighbors. They do help our community a lot. Cal Portland, they come out and do community cleanups with us. Their employees come out though on days off and come and help us and work with us. I mean, they're amazing to work with their public relations department. As far as the cement not being useful, our 14 freeway between Mojave and Rosamond was messed up for 2 years because the first company that was hired could not lay the cement properly because it didn't have the right stuff in it. So it had to be all taken back up and relayed by Cal Portland Cement. So that's another thing that we do need to think about, that they finally got that project done for us that took over 2 years to complete. As far as our parks are concerned, I know that was brought up by the plaintiff. Our parks are receiving $2.3 million total for Rosamond alone. That's between our pool, our skate park, our community building being redone. Dog park is in the works, but not quite yet. We're working on that. But Kern County is doing amazing with our parks and recreation departments. I will close with the Blazing Saddles picture. 1970. Erosion does happen. It is something that happens within our community. I know that when I was growing up, we had Dinosaur Hill, which was the other side of Silver Queen Mountain. When I came back from college, 6 years later, it was gone. I cried a little. I understand. It happened. Silver Queen took it down. I get it. It happened. So I will end on this, that I'm still for it. And I hope that the board decides to go ahead and let Cal Portland continue to grow in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chuckley. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Dylan Buxt. I'm a resident to the north of where the site's proposed to be, about a half a mile. I'd just like to say that the area right now is extremely peaceful and quiet. I can personally hear trains go by 8 miles from my house. So to say that there would be no noise impactments from a mining operation a half a mile from houses is just not accurate. I would just urge you to not approve this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buxton. Next speaker, if there are any more speakers. Thank you. Come on forward.
Hello, my name is Jacqueline LeClaire, and I'm going to be reading 3 comments on behalf of residents of the project impacted area who were unable to attend today. This one is from Jack Purdy. This project will affect the quality of life for the residents of Ancient Valley and Rosamond. It will have a major negative impact on the environment. It will have a major impact on groundwater quality and supply. The residents of Ancient Valley get their water supply from wells. The amount of water the mine would use creates a very real danger of affecting that supply, especially considering the ongoing drought. Air quality will be impacted greatly from reactive organic gases, oxides of nitrogen, particulate matter, and diesel exhaust. Valley fever is an ever-present threat when dirt is disturbed and dust is in the air. The prevailing wind direction most of the time is northeast, which would blow the dust into Rosamond and toward Rosamond High School. When there is a Santa Ana wind condition, it would blow towards Tropico Middle School and the exotic feline compound. It also blows into Ancient Valley from the southwest. Noise pollution from normal operations plus blasting and continuous diesel truck traffic would have adverse effect on the population. Hazardous materials from blasting are a danger to those in the area. Nighttime lighting would be another annoyance. This project should not go forward with so many major negative impacts on the environment, the residents, and the sacred land. Thank you for considering our concerns. The second comment is from Carol Letus Duman. I am a Kern County property owner and taxpayer. I own a property on Bacchus Road at Stagecoach Lane. I wholeheartedly support and agree with the appeal filed against continuing with the 30-year Gem Hill mining project. The report does not take into account the needs and quality of life of the people who live here. I moved here around 10 years ago, and since then, I have seen our wildlife destroyed or driven away due to the increased truck and large vehicle traffic on both Bacchus Road and Mojave Tropico Road, the ever-increasing solar field footprint, and of course, the wind turbines. Add to that the haul and water truck constantly tramming up and down Bacchus Road. There have been several close calls with these vehicles, especially at the corner of Bacchus and Mojave Tropico Roads. Haul trucks run up and down Bacchus Road all day long, making noise and polluting the air. Most of the people who live here do so for a reason, and it was not to live in a bustling industrial area. Please deny this destructive project. Sincerely, Carol Letus Duman, a concerned homeowner and citizen. Final comment is from Mike Duman. To the Board of County Supervisors, please deny any permits for Gem Hill mining operations. The environmental impact report says significant damage. This mine would destroy the rural community. The existing road system is not built for that kind of mining equipment on public roads. There's been no traffic safety study done. Please deny this project. Michael Duman, concerned citizen. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, everybody. My name is Veronica Hernandez. My husband and I were moved just less than a year, really close to Mojave Road. And this site will be behind our backyard, really close. So this is not in the map, like my neighbor said. And I'm disabled, mental disabled. I cannot be around too many noises. I get my panic attacks and I start running. So this will be really hard for us because my husband and I, we spent the money he was saving, from 25 of his job to live in a nice place, at least quiet. And with this will be disaster for us. I don't want to think, to move again from there and starting over. We are in the 60s. I'm disabled, like I said, so we don't have a place to go. So please consider this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. Next speaker.
Thank you. My name is Michael Tribuno. I live in Rosamond, California, less than 4 miles away from the proposed site, and I'm an aerospace engineer in Mojave, California. I've lived and worked here for over 10 years, and I'm speaking today in opposition to the Gem Hill Pit Mine project. Many shortcomings in the analysis were presented previously and in the appeal being discussed today. I'll touch on only two to keep my remarks brief. First, the traffic analysis focused on the number of vehicles and how they might contribute to traffic congestion. It, however, neglects the damage to the roads that will be caused by the large number of heavy trucks transporting material from the site on a daily basis. Mojave Tropico is a small 2-lane road that already deteriorates noticeably year to year due to limited and primarily car and small truck traffic. The planned 134 trucks transporting nearly 2.4 million pounds of material daily, 6 days a week, will certainly accelerate this damage. Local residents will be forced to drive on the road as it deteriorates, and eventually they, as taxpayers, will be forced to pay to repair damage caused by CalPortland's activities. Second, the noise analysis of the haul trucks neglected the surrounding topography in its analysis, but nevertheless claimed that it could provide natural attenuation. This optimistic and unsupported claim ignores the reality that many of the residents have a direct line of sight and sound to Mojave Tropical Road on which the trucks will be traveling. It's claimed that noise due to off-site travel will be lessened since the heavy trucks will be traveling at very low speeds on smooth surfaces. But this claim is not consistent with the local speed limits, and it will be undermined as the roads rapidly deteriorate from this heavy use. Furthermore, it's not clear that this board has fully considered the frequency of truck traffic. The plan calls for 134 or more trucks per day hauling millions of pounds of material from the site. 134 trucks per day, 12 hours of operations per day. It's 11.2 trucks per hour. It's a little less than 5 minutes between every truck. And it's currently a quiet stretch of desert, as others have noted. Another area of concern is the statement of overriding considerations in the Exhibit B of the staff report. This attempts to justify approval of the project despite its numerous environmental failings. Unfortunately, much of this justification is circular or illogical. While acknowledging that this project will result in numerous environmental effects that cannot be mitigated below a level of significance, it goes on to list as justifying benefits, creation of an environmentally sound project. However, it's just been acknowledged that the project will cause environmental damage that cannot be mitigated. It goes on to claim as a benefit minimized environmental impact. But that claim claims that the significant environmental impacts, even after mitigations, are a benefit because they could be much worse. It's kind of a strange form of logic. And then also establishment of a quarry. It's not clear why that would be a benefit. Another area that's concerning, CalPortland has not considered or proposed any reasonable compensation for those who will be directly affected by the project on a day-to-day basis and whose property values will be negatively impacted. These homes are located in a lovely desert setting. They're on a hill overlooking the desert landscape with Joshua trees and natural formations. There's a sparse arrangement of other homes. It's quiet with no industrial noise or heavy traffic. The air is clear and the nights are dark. I could see myself choosing to buy and live in one of these homes. However, if CalPortland is allowed to dig and operate an open pit mine within a half mile of these homes according to the terms of their initial plan, never mind if they expand operations as the plan allows, I would not be interested in these homes, and I suspect many others would not be either. Their property values will certainly be decreased if this mining project proceeds. CalPortland should be required to justly compensate the affected parties if this project is allowed to proceed. In addition, I'd like to raise the awareness of how many people oppose this project but are essentially unaware of it and are not here to raise their objections. Projects like this affect far more people than a survey of neighboring properties or even the number of people here today would suggest. Keeping the project quiet and providing only the minimum required notice is clearly in CalPortland's interest while seeking approval. Broad awareness risks broad opposition from the many people who will be negatively affected by the project's long list of anticipated disruptions and damages. Though I live less than 4 miles from this proposed project, I was not notified directly. Concerned friends brought it to my attention. Yet its obtrusive presence will be irrefutable after it begins and another hill in the surrounding desert begins to disappear, when the basic 2-lane road I sometimes commute on and use to visit my nearby friends is destroyed and impassable, when the frequent winds stir up dust from the site, and when the quiet of the desert is disturbed by the lights, the explosive blasts, and the din of generators, excavating equipment, and haul trucks operating throughout the waking hours 6 days a week. I've seen this happen before in this area when the Silver Queen mine resumed operation just outside of Mojave. Mount Soledad used to be a prominent local landmark, a tall, rugged, and natural-looking mountain visible from a great distance. I'd see it while walking in Roseman. I drove past it every day commuting to and from work in Mojave, and I'd look out on it from the office. I knew it had seen limited activity in the past, but by all accounts was inactive. And then several years ago, many of us were surprised when mining resumed, and with a fury and destruction that is astonishing. Explosions regularly shake the office buildings where I work. Clouds of dust drift toward us after these blasts. And on windy days, dust streams from the site, top to bottom. What was once a natural-looking mountain diminishes by the day and is now a synthetic-looking mound of tailings. The surrounding Silver Queen Road has also crumbled under the weight of increased traffic. And they don't even move that much material off-site. So the proposed Gem Hill mine project will irreversibly alter the local geography that many people take for granted. Why? Because mountains and hills don't normally just disappear. They'll pass by and lament that another piece of nature, another piece of the landscape has been wiped away. In addition to the many specific objections others and I have presented today, I urge you also to consider the many people who were never notified of this pending project or who could not digest the thousands of pages of material and who therefore aren't here today voicing their objections. If this project proceeds, only then will they become aware of what has been taken, but it will be too late, much to Cal Portland's satisfaction. In conclusion, many areas of noncompliance and incomplete analysis in the project planning have been presented previously and today. Furthermore, examples have been provided of Cal Portland and its contractors damaging and destroying sensitive species, providing inadequate dust management, and generally operating beyond the agreed-to limits of their initial survey activity. In planning and in action, Cal Portland has shown disregard for the environment in which they are operating and the agreements under which they operate. I believe these are sufficient reasons to disallow this project from proceeding. If, despite these clear violations and shortcomings, the board insists on approving the project, I believe it must, at the very least, do two things. Provide better justification for approval of the project. Unlike the circular reasoning presented in Exhibit B of the staff report, this justification should describe specifically the expected benefits, the expected cost and damages, and why the benefits outweigh the cost. Second, require Cal Portland to provide meaningful compensation for those directly affected by the project's day-to-day operations and whose property values will certainly be harmed by the presence of this mining operation. Thank you.
Sir, could you repeat your last name? I'm not sure I caught it.
Tribuno, T-R-I-B-U-N-O.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Okay, I think that wraps up public comment. Okay, at this time, we'll close the public. Oh, we do have one more. Come on in. Come down.
Okay, I wanted to say when I first moved out there in 1986, I looked at the mountain and I said, this should be a park. And I went to the land office to try to find out who owned it.
Ma'am, you want to give your name for the record?
Oh, sorry, Terry Brady.
Thank you.
I live 59th Street and Alice Avenue, which is just south of Bacchus Road. So I realized I couldn't buy the thing and make it a park. And every day I went back there and I ran before work or I ran after work and got to know every little piece of rock out there. And amazingly, there's hundreds of thousands of arrowheads. And I found morteros, grinding bowls, and I found buried Indians. I contacted Bakersfield and they said, yes, there's 13 of them out there. And unfortunately, our Indian people didn't show up today, but there's a lot more going on out there than just rock that needs to be moved. And as far as the road, the access road, the school bus rides on that road that big trucks are going to be pulling out to move their loads. That's where the school buses come from Rosamond to take the kids home. So I just wanted to, I'm also worried about my water levels. I've got a well. It goes up and down, but if they're going to suck out 16,000 gallons a day, then where's we going to get our water? Do we all move? And who's going to do that? I mean, who's going to pay for us to move when our houses aren't worth anything? I just wanted to say that, so you can think about that.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Grady. Any more public comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll turn it back to the board for final comments. And close the public hearing. Okay. Supervisor Scrivener.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. This project's in my district, so I will start off the discussion from the board. First, I'd like to ask our planning department if they would like to respond to any of the comments that were made, either in the presentation from the appellants or from the other speakers that we heard from.
Thank you, Supervisor Scrivener through the chair. So I appreciate the thoughtful comments that have been provided by the appellants, but I want to distinguish two different categories of comments. There are comments on the environmental impact report. We have provided extensive responses in both the response to comments and in the staff report addressing their comments. I'd like to touch on the biological. While it is true that California Department of Fish and Wildlife gave us a comment, we have imposed mitigation 4.3-1 through 4.3-7 that addresses those comments. They have not followed up with any other comment. We have not said that there are not species on the property. Instead, we have imposed mitigation, which is a normal process. Biological experts, as you know, since you have had EIRs before you before, CEQA allows for a difference of opinion between experts. On many of these issues, they have provided documentation, we have provided documentation, we have provided analysis of why we are recommending that you use the documentation that we have provided. You certainly can use their biological experts. The Center on Biological Diversity has put comments in the record. We do not consider them the definitive statement on any subjects. They are a group that opines on things. We have provided detailed responses in the record to all of these comments, and we do believe that the biological issues on this property have been addressed. So I wanted to address that. The CEQA issues, the traffic has been addressed. We do have the traffic representative from Public Works here can address it. We just believe that there are many ways that you can take the information, present it on a chart, and we have addressed all of these issues. These are the same issues that were raised at the Planning Commission. There is, however, a second category of issues, which are policy decisions by your board. The policy decisions they brought forward is their representation that Pozolite will not reduce the greenhouse gases from the creation of this concrete. We are not permitting a concrete plant today. We are not required to prove that we are reducing the emissions from the use of Pozolite. We are not required under CEQA to make any sort of determination of that. We have provided in your staff report a statement that those greenhouse emission reductions were not included in our conclusions in CEQA. That is a policy decision of your board as to whether you believe the Cal Portland representations that they need this material in order to comply with the state of California's requirements. So there is no determination that the planning department or your board needs to make as to whether it actually reduces it or doesn't reduce it. It's a representation from an applicant. We understand that the residents have brought evidence that they believe it doesn't. Well, it may not, but we are not permitting a concrete plant today. We are only permitting a small mining operation, which does have significant environmental impacts on the surroundings. It is located in an A-zone piece of property. This entire area is primarily zoned either A or platted lands, which means that back in the 50s and 60s, it was subdivided before we ever had any rules about subdivision. In the north and the south, there is some estate, 2.5 acres, which is for residential, but this particular area has been designated for mineral extraction since 1986, when the general plan was originally decided. It's a requirement by the state of California that we have what we call mineral resource areas designated in our general plan. And this, for a variety of reasons, has been designated as one of those areas. And certainly you, as the policymakers for the county, can make your own determinations about these categories of concerns that were brought forward about whether Pozolite actually reduces the emissions. Second, I'd like to address, we have addressed a number of times this issue of the representation that Cal Portland somehow has been illegally grading. First of all, in one of the presentations, there were many representations that there was a lot of grading done in that area and that it was on land that Cal Portland didn't own. There's no evidence that any of that grading was done by Cal Portland. As you know, in the desert area, we have many people who show up with a bulldozer and create roads. And in some cases, when the road washboards out because of a variety of reasons, They go out and grade it again. That grading, meaning moving dirt, does not always rise to the level of requiring a grading permit. The issue of the Joshua trees were not protected until October 2022. There was no protection either from the county. We have no ordinance that protects Joshua trees. There was no ordinance. It is unfortunate, but you could go out and tear down a Joshua tree, and there was no legal protection under the Endangered Species Act. So whatever Joshua trees were removed by whoever they were removed from, since Cal Portland has already attested and we've verified that they have not touched someone else's property, we don't know. They did obtain a grading permit in 2019 to create some access roads on their own property, which is permitted. The last piece was a comment about the statement of overriding considerations. I know that there is a lot of paper when we create these environmental impact reports, when we create the Planning Commission staff reports. The 15093 statement of overriding consideration was included in the Planning Commission staff report. There was a statement that it hadn't been provided before this. It was provided. We have supplemented the record today to indicate that one of the benefits that outweighs the environmental impacts is Cal Portland's representations that they need this mineral and they need to mine this mineral where it's located, posolite, to ensure the survival of the rest of their operations, which employ 150 people and contribute $2.8 million a year in property taxes. As well, Cal Portland controls a significant amount of property, and they do have other sources of water and water rights that are outside of the adjudicated basin. Therefore, we did make the determination, and we are providing that to your board for your consideration, that the survival of a company that's been in business for 68 years and employs 150 people and provides $2.8 million of taxes every year in the area of unincorporated Kern County is a benefit. We're prepared to address any other questions that you need more information on, but I wanted to clarify for the record that the issues that they have raised that are not CEQA issues are legitimate issues from their perspective, but they are policy issues that your board needs to make your own decisions on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Oviatt. I want to tell everyone who appeared here at the board in opposition to this project, and particularly the presentation from the two folks that appealed the decision of the Planning Commission. I greatly appreciate your thoughtful comments and how thoughtfully they were presented. I'm quite impressed with the extensive research that you did, and I am very sympathetic to your concerns about how this is going to impact, from your perspective, your home, your enjoyment of your home, et cetera. But I am also very much cognizant and concerned about the 150 to 200 jobs that Cal Portland has provided for this community, and all of those 150 to 200 families that those jobs support. And so when we have issues like this, it's always difficult because we have to try to strike a balance between those competing interests. As far as the mitigations that staff has identified for certain issues such as water, Ms. Oviatt, the 18 acre feet per year, my calculations, that's roughly about 40 households worth of water a year or so. And so we've heard from folks that are concerned about how the water usage by Cal Portland is going to potentially impact their own wells at their property. And so can you help to assuage some of those concerns and address that specifically? I know that there are some different water tables that are in the area. So what have we identified as far as potential impact to neighboring wells? Thank you.
Supervisor Scrivener, through the chair, of course, this is a difficult issue. The hydrological relationship between, especially in that particular desert area, between one specific use, which is this property's, this 83 acres property, and the hydrological relationships to a well over half a mile away, or in some cases 2 miles, or someone stood up and said 4 miles. There's a lot of granitic underlying the Willow Springs, Rosamond area. There are many areas out there where you can't drill a well at all. And we have many areas that have drilled wells over the years, and then it turns out it was perched water with granite underneath. There's an entire area at 80th and Rosamond Boulevard that no longer has water because it's actually granite now. So we have done our work in the EIR to look at the hydrological basin. We do not believe that removing water from this particular 83 acres is going to affect those wells. Certainly, I defer to council. There are many, we do land use and we analyze the CEQA, but there are civil matters here that are not under our purview. If someone believes that a neighboring property owner's use has affected their well, there are civil actions that they can take. But we have done the best we can to look at the hydrological connections. In addition, Cal Portland, as a reminder, the mining on this site will be somewhat cyclical based on the need that they have for their product. So the idea that they're going to go out and every year they're going to use 18 acre-feet of water is not accurate. They may use less in 1 year, they may use the whole 18 in 1 year, or they may, stop mining for a while and then come back. And so I think that that is the best that I can offer you in regards to the water issue that we've analyzed.
Thank you. Appreciate that. As far as the concerns about dust, valley fever, et cetera, what specifically is going to be required? I know we have a fugitive dust complaint coordinator that is going to be available for members of the public, and signage will be located, I believe, posted at the 2 access points, so members of the public will be able to contact them. And same for the noise disturbance coordinator as well. So the water use that we're talking about, that's primarily for dust mitigation.
That's correct. They're also, that is correct. It is for dust mitigation. In addition, they are under a requirement from the East Kern Air Pollution Control District to provide a dust control plan that essentially ensures that they're not, if there's an area that they're not working on, and it is what we call crusted over, meaning that it hasn't been disturbed and so no dust comes off of it, that they should not disturb that area until it's absolutely necessary. So for example, we're not going to allow them to start work on all 83 acres that would create dust. As a reminder, we have cumulative dust issues in that desert region because we have areas that used to have agriculture that no longer have agriculture and fallows. So we have a background of dust. They are, however, required not to have dust leave their site. So it's not a question of just, is there dust in the desert? The question is they need to control the dust on their site. If the dust goes up and the dust comes down, there's a certain distance by which they are to manage that. And you are all familiar with that because of your work on the various air districts.
Thank you. I'd like to talk about the noise concerns that were expressed. I know that the conditions are that blasting can only occur once per day, Monday through Friday, between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. And there are some exceptions, as that Mr. Murphy noted. If something went wrong with the discharge, they could request to be able to do it outside of those hours. But still, I'm assuming one time per day, unless there was some extenuating circumstances. But how much did the applicant agree to dial those hours back, hours of operation, and also blasting? I doubt that they came in and offered that right off the bat that type of a strict schedule.
Supervisor Scribner through the chair. The original mitigation measure did not include those specific determinations. After reviewing comments and concerns from the residents, we approached the applicant and kind of indicated to them what our concern was based on those comments. Their response was never, I don't want to address, or I need to do it all the time. They were actually very amenable to those provisions. Our discussions really revolved around the what ifs though. And they were very concerned about, well, what if, and again, that specific example I gave, something didn't discharge. Now they were worried about their liability. They were worried about having live explosives. And so they were very amenable to restricting it to one time a day during a reasonable hour set. They just requested that there might be a provision that allowed for some alternative if it needed to be. And then that is also where we included the provision that said if they needed to go outside of those hours, they would not only require written permission from the director, again, this is if it wasn't a safety issue, but also authorization and written notification to surrounding property owners. They were very amenable, wanting to not create something that was not unexpected as well. So if they were to ever need for some other reason to try to ask for that, they were amenable to providing that notification to residents as well so that people could make appropriate distinctions and understanding.
And that noise disturbance coordinator, the contact information is required to be displayed at the two access points for the property. So if residents are hearing blasting outside of those hours, they'd be able to contact that person, inquire as to why it was occurring, and they would get answers.
That is correct.
That's correct. Supervisor Scribner through the chair, however, for your board, for full disclosure, the applicant has not agreed to any limitations on hours of operation. The planning department did ask about that, and the answer is that because of the tempo of mining, there may be times when they need to mine more. But given the comments that you've received today, you might want to consider a limitation on the latest hour of actual operation of mining. Since at this point, the way that it is structured, I don't know that they intend to mine at midnight, but in reviewing all the documentation today, given the comments, it appears they can. And I don't know if an indulgence from the chair, you may want to ask the applicant to explain, are there no limitations on hours of operation, especially in the summer when there's light outside? And perhaps it would be more appropriate that they have that limitation given the concerns of the neighbors.
Yeah, in what I was reading, I was operating under the understanding that was 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. were the hours of operation. And so I'd like to ask the applicant to come up, and this would be a good time to respond to those questions. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon again. Yes, our planned operating hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
And any plans to operate outside of those hours? Any circumstances where you would see that occurring?
We don't have any plans to operate outside of those hours, and I don't see any circumstances beyond that. The only thing would be the blasting that Craig has mentioned.
And so you would be agreeable to having that be a condition, 7 to 7? 7
Yes.
a.m. to 7 p.m.?
Yes, we would be.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Can I just clarify how many
Yes, Ms.
days
Ovia.
a week that is?
Well, I think we're talking Monday through Saturday. Is that correct? That's what I read in the report.
Yes, that would be Monday through Saturday.
Okay, Supervisor, I will check the conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to have, thank you. For now, thank you. I have no more questions. I'd like to talk to somebody from Public Works in regards to traffic and road conditions. Hi, good afternoon. Could you state your name for the record, please?
Joshua Champlin, Assistant Public Works Director.
Thanks, Joshua. Champlin? Champlin, thanks. I know, right? I wanted to talk to you a little bit about traffic. So in analyzing the trips, we're looking at 42 a.m. peak trips and 31 p.m. Peak traffic hour trips. Those are our estimates. And so the 50 peak hour trips are the requirement to trigger further traffic analysis. Can you explain that a little bit? Why is it 50 trips? That's our our policy, county policy, and that's the first question?
Yes, Supervisor Scrivener through the chair. That's our policy. That's a commonly accepted practice in the industry. If you look around at all municipalities, so we established that there has to be 50 peak hour trips at any given intersection as a result of a project. And so whether it be an industrial like this or a tract, community tract, or a fast food restaurant, that's what we're judging that by throughout the county. And I think it's written in the Rosamond specific plan as well. So that's kind of that's the base level for traffic analysis, and what they've provided is called a trip generation analysis. So that tells us how many trips are being generated from this development. And now if they exceed 50 peak hour trips at any intersection, then they have to do a full traffic analysis where they go and they study intersections in and around the area to see, how far that impact spreads beyond just their site.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. So the fact that they don't hit that threshold, our internal analysis and determination is that the number of trips isn't significant enough to have to trigger that more extensive traffic analysis. What about the impacts to the roadway itself? These are heavy trucks. I know that a lot of the truck activity is going to be on site, moving material from where it's mined over to where it's stored for later reclamation, I assume. So how do we determine whether or not those amounts of trips with heavy trucks and just the employees coming to and from, how do we determine whether or not that's going to be impactful to the condition of those roads? These are 2-lane roads in the area, so I think it's very reasonable for the residents that utilize those roads to be concerned about it.
Absolutely. So the way that we design our roads is we initially base them off a traffic index, and this is an empirical formula that rates all of the roads in Kern County and gives them a number. This road is constructed to a TI of 8.0, and so we use that number to base our estimate of how thick the asphalt and underlying material has to be. And it was factored into this decision. It was determined that this amount of truck trips didn't warrant the need to upgrade that road at this time. When we factor, the 134 trips, we factor that only half of that many are on either side of the road. So you have 67 going on one side and 67 exiting the other way. And so you're not saying 134 on any given side. It's half that number. So that's how we established it. And through our analysis and looking at how we originally calculated the structural section, it doesn't give rise to a increase in the structural section right now. We can certainly, we have an ongoing maintenance program to go out and evaluate roads for future construction opportunities that may arise, maybe from existing deficient roads, but it's not our policy to put it on the back of a new development to fix existing deficiencies in roadways.
Very good. And I do know that we've had several projects in the past out in the area, large wind projects, et cetera, where they have been required to return the roadway to its condition before they started the construction project, because they did meet that threshold of, for us to be concerned about it. And so this one doesn't, is the answer.
Correct. And to further go on that, so if we do think there's going to be an impact, we have them do what's called a recording of the road. So we'll have them go out and record the existing condition and the post condition. But this is more so for solar and wind, where they're going to have a very small defined window of construction. We want to make sure that during that construction, they don't damage the roads any further.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Those are all the questions I have for you at this time. Okay, I essentially, just kind of getting back to my original point. This is our dilemma. We obviously have some residents in the area that have concerns, but on the other hand, we have a company that's been in business for many decades, and that provides 150, if you ask, from from one source. KEDC says they have 200 full-time jobs. All the families in the area, we have families in Mojave, Rosamond, Tehachapi, that work out at Cal Portland. My experience has been that Cal Portland is a tremendous community corporate partner, involved in many community events, supports a lot of good causes, and really has been, in the 12 years that I've been on the board, a really wonderful company to work with. Ms. Oviatt indicated the benefits to the county, $2.8 million a year in property taxes. To give you some perspective, a fire station costs about $1.8 million to operate for a year. So this is a significant revenue stream for the county to provide essential services for our constituencies. And I do accept the company's declaration that this mineral extraction at this site is imperative for them to be able to continue to operate in the state of California. We are a resource-based economy largely here in Kern County, between oil, mining, energy production, agriculture, and the state of California's posture continues to be more and more adversarial to those kinds of industries, and they have to be creative and make significant investments in order to continue to operate in the state of California. I don't agree with what the state lays out as far as new requirements on a lot of our businesses. But nevertheless, we do have to adapt and we have to respond, and I think that's what this company is doing. This is going to be a significant investment for them. I don't think that they would do it unless it was critical for their longevity to operate in Kern County in the state of California, and so I do think that this project is important to them. We talked about some of the mitigations we have for things like water, traffic, dust, noise, et cetera, but what staff identified as an impact that we're not going to be able to mitigate for are the aesthetics. When they start operating this mine, it's going to change the view shed for some folks. It's going to change the topography and the scenery. But I come back to the understanding that this is private property that Cal Portland owns. And so the view that folks enjoy is on top of someone else's property. And they are wanting to utilize this property to sustain their business operations that are not only important to the county for the property tax revenue, but also important to those 150 to 200 people and the families that they support that work out at Cal Portland. And so I'm going to support staff's recommendation, and I'll be prepared to make a motion, but I'd be happy to hear any questions or comments from any of my colleagues. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any Supervisor Perez?
Thank you, Chairman Flores. Thank you for your thorough presentation, Zach, and I'll follow your lead in your district and second that motion.
Thank you. Okay, we have a...
Let me go ahead and formally make a motion on staff's recommendation. I think Ms. Oviatt probably has some things that she needs to read into the record.
Yes, if we could have Mr. Murphy read the revised condition, and then he'll read the revised recommendation. Thank you.
Based on your comments, Supervisor, we are recommending that on page 4 of the staff report, or 4 of the, not staff report, on page 4 of the proposed resolution, condition 7 be changed. Currently, the condition 7 reads, development and continued operation shall be limited to the boundary outlined on the approved plan. All mining and processing equipment shall be maintained within the area indicated on said plan. Staff recommends adding the following language in addition. Hours of operation for the mining facility shall be limited to Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. No mining activity is authorized to occur on Sundays. And then with that, the recommendation would be then to deny the appeal, certify the environmental impact report, adopt the section 15091 findings of fact and section 15093 statement of overriding considerations, adopt the mitigation measure monitoring program, approve resolution, recommended findings, and approve conditional use permit subject to recommended revised conditions. And that includes the revisions to condition 7.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. So moved.
Okay, we have a first and second. Members cast your vote.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to adjournment. Having no additional items to consider, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn to Tuesday, February 7th, 2023, 9 a.m.
So moved.
Thank you. Okay, we're adjourned.